All right, welcome everyone to another live meeting. This is our live production meeting of 100 TV, and basically we're putting a network together, and we're going to have a whole lineup full of shows starting on May 1st, and these are our production meetings to really operate the business side of what we're doing and plan everything. So you get a chance to hang out with us. We'll be live tonight for an hour or maybe a little less, hopefully. And tomorrow we'll be live at noon Eastern again. There's a link in the description if you want to reserve yourself a seat right now for tomorrow's meeting. All right, let's get this underway. Everybody, first of all, I want to welcome Marisa Cali. It's her first time on a meeting. She's one of the newest members of our group, so great to see you, and thanks for joining us, Marisa. We'll go around. Everybody just say your name, the name of your show if you've chosen one, or in Jodi's case, your role, and maybe a sentence about your show. So I'm Ross Brand. My show's going to be called 100 Predictions, and it's going to focus on trends in digital media.
Did you want me to go or someone else?
Anyone who feels like it. There's only 4 of us.
I'll go.
Okay.
My name is Marisa Cali. I'm a live event ritual producer. Worked with Ross on some projects before, but now I'm stepping into the spotlight. It's the year of the spotlight. So the name of the show is called Resilience, where it's me and another person who's also in events. We're going to talk about how having resilience is a skill set for success in life, events, business, all of that.
Cool.
Go ahead, Rick.
Oh, okay. I'm Rick Savoia, and I currently been hosting for the last 4 years, Drink with Rick. I'm a 17-year.
You don't look a day over 18.
I wish. Otherwise, I'd be not old enough to drink, but legally. But not that it ever stopped me. Anyway, where was I going with that? Okay,
17 years something.
17-year-old veteran. Yeah, I was a 17-year veteran podcaster and a media producer, and I'm currently hosting the show Drink with Rick on the Saturday Night Wine Stream, and I'm the show that I'm going to be presenting is a sort of a mishmash of that. It's a repackage of it. I'm still working on the titles.
Cool. Jodi? Great.
Hi, I'm Jodi Krangle. I am a voice actor. I've been doing this full time for 15 plus years now, and I'm aware of the fact that a voice can brand things. I have a podcast of my own called Audio Branding, but in this case, what I'm doing is providing the voiceover for this network. So anything that they need as far as voice branding is concerned for the videos or the website or anything like that, and I'm happy to provide.
Cool. All right, so let's get into our ongoing business or our old business, things that we started talking about last week. Number 1 is our launch date. So last week we settled on Monday, May 1st, for the network to launch its regular lineup of shows. We're not currently pitching a pre-launch live series. We had talked about that. There were mixed feelings about it, and seems like we have more than enough to do to get ready for May 1st, so we'll focus on that. We are live streaming. I think everybody who's on the panel is aware. We are live streaming our pre-launch meeting so people can see what the network is all about and just see how it all comes together to put this process out there for other people to learn and for us to have something to look back on as well as the process goes along. So for the next few weeks while we're getting ready to launch, I guess it's probably about 5 or 6 weeks maybe, we'll be doing at least one live stream a week for our meetings. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be doing one tomorrow. Okay, so the second item from last week, we talked about committees. Everybody would be joining a committee to help in getting ready for the launch. We're divided into 5 committees, basically. The branding committee, videos, which covers like promo and social videos, website/email, YouTube channel, and monetization. I have here, based on what people said they wanted to do, we have a branding committee. I know they're already underway, and hopefully Jeff will be able to join us and share what they're working on. Jeff, Joie, and Bridgetti are on that. There's a video committee. Jeff, Daniel, Bridgetti, Strick, Kevin, and Jodi will be contributing voiceovers once the video is ready to add an audio track. So that probably hasn't started yet because we got to decide what we're doing as far as what type of video promos and write our scripts and get their content ready for that kind of stuff. Website and email, Daniel and Sue Ann are on that. They both have access to the website and can begin working on things over there. Maybe they already are. In fact, I have an update from Sue Ann on some things. And the great Jeff and High Def, Jeff Fitzgerald. Hey, Jeff, welcome.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, tell everybody, if you got a second, tell everybody before we get back into the meeting what show you're going to do and a sentence or two about, what we can expect from it.
Well, I got a couple different ideas. That's the dilemma. I have a private Facebook group for content creators, and over the last couple of years, I've done a series called Profiles, which Ross, you were on, and it's one-on-one interview, a little bit like 60 Minutes. And I'm thinking that may be a better option than what I originally said, which was Streamweek, which was more of a news format that's got a little bit more work behind it. But either that or I might do my game show, one or the other. So.
That would be so much fun to have a game show on the network.
My family has a real game show we've had since 2015. We've done over 40 of them, I think. And during COVID, I worked out how I could do it virtually. I never really put it all the blocks together. Wow. But I was actually thinking about that, Ross. That might be kind of cool to, zany fun and prizes and all that good stuff.
Do you have any videos of it online or no?
Yeah, if you go to on Facebook, there's a page called Game Show Loco.
Okay.
And you can see all the craziness. I dress up like I'm from 1970.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
It was modeled after the old Price is Right, which I really, I like the idea of that. But I don't know. My family loves game shows, so
I think that could be a lot of fun. I got to check it out.
I'm gonna put that down. That might be the right answer.
All right. So we also have a YouTube channel committee that'll deal with any issues related to the channel, how we distribute our content. Kevin, Lee, and Strick talked about being part of that. A monetization committee, which so far is myself and Rebecca. Rebecca Gunter just joined up with 100 TV yesterday. And Marisa, if you have one of those committees, you can let us know now, or you can tell me offline. If you have one that is one or more that are of interest to you, I also need to find out what Jim and Rick, I got to ask you as well. If you have a committee, you can tell me now, or we can talk about it offline. Either way.
Well, we could. I had questions about what exactly the video committee was going to be doing per se. Were they going to be building the shows based on the content, or building the programming?
It's promos and social videos, like short clips, the promo. As far as building the show, that's kind of what each creator is going to do themselves.
Well, what I meant by building the show was insert, like where the promos got inserted, things like that, the ads inserted, where the programming scheduling was done, I guess, is what I was asking.
That might certainly, the promo committee would probably be letting the YouTube folks know what the purpose of the promo is, what it's aligned with, what what it's about, but probably the YouTube group would be responsible for actually slotting it and
Okay.
how it would be delivered and such.
Yeah, and in the TV business, that's known as the traffic department.
Right, right.
That's cool. Ross, is there a promo committee and a video committee?
The video committee right now is basically the video promo committee because, like I said, for the long form stuff, everybody's going to do their own thing. Although, as we talked about doing some clip shows when we have the time to do that, I don't know if we have the time like first, second week or whatever, but eventually that would be a fun thing, I think, to have some shows that are just like 1 minute, 30-second, 5-minute clips from each show, whatever, just like that impactful moment, and then go to the next, almost like reels, but within like a half an hour, maybe, or 15-minute block.
Neat about that, Ross, is if each creator could pick out the best 1 minute, or something like that, maybe 1.5 you pull from, but pick out the highlights of their show, then a promo template could be built, like last week on, that kind of thing. And then it's really all that work's done for the editor, because that then is not a 3-hour process to put something together. It's now like 30 minutes because all the work's been cut out.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. And, in the beginning, obviously it'd be great if everybody did it. But once we have a massive number of creators, it can kind of be like, if you want to do that, here's another opportunity to get attention. If you don't want to do it, well, we have more than enough to choose from.
That's awesome.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something while I'm thinking about it. You had mentioned last week about kind of broadcast standards and how we can elevate our level to have certain production quality standards over time. And I was wondering, I don't know, maybe that's something you and some other people on the committee could maybe put some numbers together. Like, okay, this right now everybody's going to start where they're at, but maybe in 3 months or 6 months, the goal is everybody's at 1080p. Maybe the goal is everybody sets their audio, like whatever you think the standards that we should be aiming for, and like have a maybe you could teach everybody kind of what you think we should be at.
There's a wealth of knowledge in this group. I mean, every one of us have got parts that other people don't have, right? And that's the great thing about collaboration. I think there's the technical stuff. Obviously, you got to be able to see somebody. They got to be the right color balance,
Right.
and the lighting needs to be good. Those things are basics. But I think more than anything, it's understanding, if you really want to think of it in like of a TV model, even though we're not going backwards, we're going forwards.
Right.
The big thing that TV has got down is they've learned really, really well how to tell a story in a succinct way. If they're doing news, they don't get into 2-hour podcasts. They jump right into the conversation and bring you to a certain part in that narrative. And then it's like, we'll pick up from here. And so tell me, how did this happen, Ross, after you did this, right? And so some of those things I think are more important than maybe the technical parts of that, because everybody I think is doing pretty smart looking video, but it's more of like, how do you really bring like in an interview setting, how do you extract the story from somebody you're interviewing in a way where they're not answering yes or no, but they're actually being really, provocative in the sense that they're saying things that people are like, oh, wow, that was kind of interesting. Do I agree or I don't agree? And so maybe some of that we some Zoom trainings on, with a couple of us, and we just
that'd be fun. I mean, any kind of thing where we can all learn from each other and up level. None of it has to be required for creative partners to attend, but when people want to learn about something, hey, let's get together in Zoom occasionally, once a month or whenever it's appropriate, and people can share the knowledge that they have.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I just want to say real quick, Marisa and Rick, hi. I haven't talked to you guys yet. I'm Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. Yeah, I mean, to your point, Ross, about the equipment, I think for me, from my standpoint, being behind the scenes so much, it's never been a priority for me to like get a high def camera. I'm using a 1080p webcam, My light actually went out this week, so I have to get a new one. But like normally I would have this side of my face lit up. So it'd be a little bit more bright,
you
but
look
like
great though. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's the great thing about all this kind of stuff is it's all everybody here's been through that, right?
yeah.
And so it's a matter of just figuring out what you want to do with it. And there's more than enough help here to, we all want everybody to do well. And so there's a way to do it. And Rick, I like your background there.
Thanks. Made it myself.
Yeah, I think it's important also for
we'd have white chalkboard with the arrows going down to not this one, not this one.
Yeah, I just turned one of my lights towards me because when I'm working, I can't have it shining in my eyes. And sometimes I forget when I'm doing a meeting or something like, oh, that's probably better if the light's towards you than away from you.
But also Jeff, your point about telling a story and making it succinct, I think is super important too, because I mean, I don't know how long I'm aiming to have a 30-minute show, pack a lot of information in there. And it's like, we're doing a lot of prep, and how do we keep it succinct so that what you're talking about is like, you can clip it in like 2 or 3 segments and it can be promoted. It's not like, hey, go watch this 1 hour long show. Like regular TV shows are not 1 hour long. They're 40 minutes because of all the commercials, right? Yes. So if we're thinking 30-minute increment, it's 22 minutes of good content. So I think I would love to, like, maybe Ross, I know like setting this meeting was a little bit challenging, and going forward, maybe coming up with like an office hours that we do like twice a month, put that on the schedule for like someone like me. Like my schedule's kind of set for like the next 3-4 weeks, so maybe putting that on the schedule now, or for the future, so that way we can get that once we're rolling on May 1st. We don't have to figure out when that office hours is, and maybe even invite other people, like potential creators, and like if they have questions for us, like I think that would be a cool way to bring in.
That's a good idea.
The
I think
audience.
that would be really good.
If I can jump in for just a second, because I had something that I don't know if you can add it to the agenda or not, and something to talk about in the future. But I'm trying to get a pilot. I want to get a pilot ready while I can. The first couple of shows done. So the thing is, it's a matter of show format. Do we have a standard show format? How is it going to work? Those are things that are probably good to discuss here pretty soon at some point. It's like, are we going to have opens and closes for each show that are pretty standard, breaks that are pretty standard? How are the promos, the cross promotion, how are the ads going to be added in or inserted, and where, and how much time we need to allot for all of that, and pretty much the general format of how a half hour or an hour show is going to work. If it's going to be more like a regular television network, or is it going to be just kind of programmatic, where it's just kind of thrown in there, and which personally I don't care for much, but like YouTube does oftentimes. But those are all questions that
those are good questions.
That I have.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I guess, probably have different thoughts on this. I like the idea of knowing which show's going to start at what time, and everybody keeps their show to either a 30-minute or a 60-minute block, and then we determine how many kind of availabilities like we're going to have in there. So maybe we drop like 2 30-second spots between shows. So essentially your show is 29 minutes, and then there'll be 2 30-second spots. Right now, everything would be a house spot, right? But eventually it'll be sponsors, and we would probably use like an open slate where you have like, because you can't, I mean, within YouTube, I think the YouTube committee is going to have to go through. I put up the rules for YouTube. Within your video, you can't run an advertised video from a third party, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm streaming on my channel, I can run a video from my own company, but I can't run a video for Marisa's production company or for Jeff's production company, because they're not my company, right? So on my channel, I can't do that. but there are ways where I can indicate that a video is sponsored by. But I think you can also have like a 5-second open, like for 5 seconds you can have a card that can appear, let's say, like a static image that says 100 TV is sponsored by, and you have the logos of all the sponsors, and then at the end 100 TV is sponsored by. And during the shows we could say, find out, let's check out the description. We have links to all of our sponsors. You could also give a talking endorsement, but all that will have to be worked on ahead of time. So we got to figure these things out, how we can do this so that it's within the rules of YouTube, and whether you can run like a sponsor video if it's outside your video. In other words, Jeff finishes his show at 29 after. Can we run a 1-minute sponsor video because my show's a different show? Well, if it's all put into one long file to be that day's, then really we probably can't. If we stream it as a separate piece of content, I'm not sure what the rules are. So there's a lot of things to be considered, and I think the easiest way to get started would be to have, a card that's like in the open, a card in the close. They don't run more than 5 seconds. That's within the rules. And then we figure out if there's some type of call to action that the host gives, that, we thank our sponsors, check out the description, has all of them, or, we give each one their own page on the website, and there's a main page. You can click their logo and it goes to sort of like a virtual booth. So we have to figure these are all important things to figure out because of the rules of YouTube. If we were streaming to another platform where there were fewer rules, we could do it however we wanted to, but as long as YouTube is a destination, we have to stay within those guidelines.
Well, my concern there is that being able to make room for those kind of breaks, so that in the shows and allot some space for them, so that they're not just abruptly thrown in like YouTube likes to do. Because one thing that those things can be very disruptive to the flow of a show, especially if you've got a show. I like to have a show where I've got segments, and then at the end of that segment, sure, run an ad, but in between the segments, if I'm in the middle of a thought or something, and I don't want to be just cut off, go to a break and then come back, and I'm like, what were we talking about? That kind of thing. So I think that's very, very important to have some sort of standard where we kind of know where we're going to take breaks and where we can structure our content, so there is few interruptions or few disruptions into the show content as possible.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't stop YouTube from running ads on our content.
Oh, sure.
Now, from what I've watched, it seems to be when there are shows that are more like TV shows where they have segments and there's a natural break, it seems that either they're able to indicate to YouTube, here's where you should put a spot, or YouTube has a way of knowing through its AI or whatever, because it's actually usually pretty good. And the only time it's at a weird time is when you jump the playhead forward and you jump into another segment and it goes, you thought you were going to skip that commercial. We'll get you now.
YouTube has a way of being able to, I know some of the creators can do this. They can put in where they want that break or where they want that commercial to go in there. Cool. So I've seen creators that do that, and it works a lot better than just being in the middle of something and boom, there's an ad and they come back.
It'd be nice to know where that is. Yeah. No, I think YouTube is causing ADD at magnitude proportions, because you're watching something you like and all of a sudden you're looking at like toilet paper ads and you're like, what, and I think you make a great point. The other thing is, Ross, with the ads, wouldn't the sponsors want to have their ads in these places, right? So I don't know if this is something for the agenda or not, but when we form this network, are we looking at YouTube as, and I know for now it's the central piece, but is it possible that maybe we start looking at something like Roku or smart connected TVs, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, where maybe we've got more latitude in some of these areas, and the strategy then becomes to put a decent amount of content on YouTube, but everything is pointing back to either a central web page where maybe we're streaming with our own server 24 hours a day, which is not terribly difficult to do. But there's some other things that maybe we should be thinking about, because I think every platform is going to throttle down anything that is of value that they don't make money on. And that's, I think, going to work against us trying to get people in and showcase them, unless Rick is doing, the drink spotlight brought to you by, Visa or somebody. And, you're just naming the sponsors.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great idea.
There's another reason for my concern on having breaks too, is that, okay, well, we've got and we talked about this in the beginning, Ross. Well, we've got the exclusivity for for 100 TV Network to run that show for the first year, and then after that, if we want to put our show somewhere else, or if we want to do something else with our show, that comes into a lot. And I know we're kind of getting off the beaten path here with the agenda, but it does tie into the sponsorships and things like that, and the ads that go in, because if there are any sponsorships or embedded promos or things like that down the road, a year and a half, 2 years from now, when we want to do other things with the content, and those things are not, those things are dated or not timely anymore, don't apply anymore, we need to be able to sort of, remove them and interject them with something fresh or do something else with that content. And it may be impossible to do that if we don't have some sort of a structure to plan ahead on.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move to some of the new items. Rick, I want to go to you next. Actually, I'm going to jump out of order here because we had your items on the agenda last week.
Haven't I talked too much already?
Well, just real quick, let me just read this real quick. You raised the question of ownership, as mentioned in the FAQ, dealing with the ability of the creator to maintain ownership of their maintain, easy for me to say, ownership of their show, title, concept, etc., while 100 TV retains the right to keep videos on its YouTube channel and other properties in an ongoing way. Let me, while I pull up what's actually, because I updated the FAQ a little bit, but talk about what your concern is, or what language you think we should be using.
Well, I think at the time that you asked me to write up something like a proposal draft for, that kind of a contract, and I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, not 100 TV or anywhere else. So don't take my advice as anything.
There's another idea for a show.
Yeah. But what I was actually going to start working on that this evening. We've got this, and I could still have some time to work on that a little bit this evening to propose an outline of a draft that we could kind of use, and just a proposal, not really nothing hard, set in stone or anything like that. And obviously you'd have to run it through, a legal counsel or whatever, to make sure that we're all doing everything above board, that all of us are okay with it too. But I just kind of a proposal, just kind of outline, okay, well, what would we have here in terms of ownership, and what are we granting? What rights are we granting to 100 TV? And the examples that I gave to you, I think last week, I gave you 2 examples of shows that, in my mind, are prime examples of kind of what we're doing here. One would be Svengoolie. I don't know how many people have ever heard of Svengoolie, but if you watch MeTV or whatever, it runs on MTV. It started at another station. It ran for years, and MeTV's picked it up and they run it. And Svengoolie, it's like a horror theater kind of thing, where the guy dresses up in goofy makeup and puts on comedy skits in between showing old horror films, and he's got his own thing going. Now with Svengoolie, they have their own fan club. They have their own merch. They have their own swag and that kind of thing. And everything they do has to do with the fans contacting them directly and doing things with them directly. They've got their own tribe pretty much, but it's run on MeTV, and it's co-branded with MeTV because MeTV is the network that it's running on. But all of the internal stuff, I mean, obviously the ads and MeTV ads and things like that, they're not selling, I mean, MeTV's running their ads and things like that. But basically what Svengoolie does is, well, he's got his own branding. He owns the show, and he's contracted to run it on MeTV for the time period whatever time period the contracted to run it. Then after that, he just kind of syndicates it, does whatever he wants to do with it. And in the meantime, their fan club is their fan club. The merchandise and the swag that they sell, whatever from the show is theirs. They've got their own website, and everything goes to, all of that sort of thing goes to their website as far as their own branding is concerned. The other show I was going to mention, I'm sure everybody's heard of this, is Mystery Science Theater 3000. MS3TK, they do the same thing. And for a long time, they were on one network, then they were on another network, and then I think they're on Netflix or something now, and they've moved to various platforms. But in any case, their own production company, they have their own, just like Svengoolie, they have their own fan club, and they sell their own merchandise, and they've got their own branding, but it's tied in with the network, and they do cross promotion. All these people do cross promotions, and there are a lot of examples here. I just picked those two because I watch them both and they're fun. But they were easy pickings. But that's kind of sort of how I see how we'd be doing, because I think, first of all of our content's ours, and the liability on that ultimately is ours, and that sort of thing. But we'd be granting MeTV, excuse me. We'd be granting 100 TV the rights, the exclusive rights for that period of time to run and do whatever they want to do with the show. Pull clips,
the
promos,
distribution rights,
all the distribution, right? And that's pretty standard. That's pretty standard in the business.
Yeah, I mean, the way we have it now is 365 days. It's exclusive to, from when an episode's published, it's exclusive to 100 TV. And then,
you could always extend it. You could always set it up in the contract to renew and extend that if you want to do that exclusivity.
And then after that, the creator is free to do what they want with it. And both parties have the right to pull clips, to promote. And I'd like to see that the content can stay on 100 TV after the person leaves, because when people advertise on YouTube, I think they do it with the idea that they're not just buying it for the day of the show or whatever, but that it's a long-term.
That's a good point.
Buy.
I don't think anybody would really have a problem with that. It's just as long as it's, built into the contract and that sort of thing.
Cool.
Over the course of that year, what's been put into the 100 TVs?
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense.
Rick, the other item that you mentioned was that there are other channels on YouTube with 100 TV. You raised the concern about the name and whether we have rights to the name or somebody else's rights to the name. Can you just give us a quick overview on that?
Well, once again, I'm not a lawyer, but I know just being in the podcast industry for as long as I have, and being in the TV industry before that as long as I have, that's a very important consideration, because you don't want to be running a brand and putting so much time and energy and money and effort and everything into building a brand, to come to find out that somebody comes up to you and says, we own that brand, we've got a trademark on it, we have the rights, and you're going to have to change it or else. And those are things that happen every day, and it's something that's worth looking into. When I went onto YouTube and looked up 100 TV on YouTube, just to kind of check. And that's kind of a standard thing you do anyway when you're starting a podcast or something.
Right.
Well, the people that kind of know about doing that. Some people don't. But when the first thing you do is you go check around. Like it's like starting a business. If you're going to start an LLC or a business or something, the first thing you do, or that you should do, is go online, check around, and do a search for that name to make sure that name isn't already taken. And as long as that's clear, then you go ahead and, hey, I want to register this name, or I want to register this business. And it's the same thing with any kind of a show. You kind of want to make sure, or with this network, I should say in particular, you want to make sure that things are clear with the network, because the last thing you want is to have everything all set up and we're all going gangbusters, and then somebody comes along and says, you got to change it all, or we're going to shut you down, or something like that. So those are some real considerations. And when I went up on YouTube and did a search, I found at least 3 other entities that were using either 100 TV or TV 100. Interchangeable. That was kind of a concern.
Does it matter?
One of them has 70,000 subscribers.
But does it matter if they're not American channels? Like, does it matter by region? Like, you have a store has. Are
you talking about from a legal perspective, or just?
Yeah.
Legal
I mean,
perspective. Well, don't take my what I say as advice, but
that's your show. Don't take my advice. That's your show.
I think that's probably what. That's a great idea, Marisa. Maybe we can write that down too. But really, it kind of depends on where it's going, and it depends on the platform you're on too. Like if the platform is not really such a global platform, sometimes you can get away with it, and it's not a big deal, because I've seen other foreign entities, other countries that have a show that's similar, or the name that's similar, or the same, very much the same. And as long as they don't interfere with each other, it's cool. But there are others, like for instance, YouTube is global, and like Facebook is global, and that can be a real issue. I'm going through an issue right now with the music that I'm using for Drink with Rick, and every week I get hit with this. It's the FIFA World Cup Qatar, whatever, 2022. Their bot flags my show that they own the music, that it's copyright music. And I have to, every week, right after my show's done, I have to go in and put in my license and dispute it, and so they can release it. I have to dispute that, because yes, I do have a legal license from it. It's Kevin MacLeod's music, and everybody knows who he is, pretty much. And it's I can use it. I've paid for a license from him, actually, to use it in perpetuity, and I own it, and pretty much I own the rights for it. And 7 days later, takes them a week, but 7 days later they'll go ahead and say, yeah, this is cool, when they release it. But then by that time, because my show's weekly, what happens is that as soon as they've released that one from that week, they've claimed the one that I just recorded, and I got to wait a week and I have to go through this process over and over again. And Facebook won't do anything about it. I've been after them, and it's been a real
nightmare,
sore spot with me. But that's kind of that's the kind of thing you run into. So it's important to consider.
Yeah, Ross, I know that, I'm not a lawyer either. Don't take my advice either. But I know that the way a lot of these things work is that if something is trademarked, that's the moniker for where it's exclusive, right? And so it just depends. But maybe what you do is on YouTube, you make the name officially 100 TV Creators Network, and that's the official name, but you can refer to it as 100 TV and things like that. And I think that may give you a little bit of a separation to some degree, but you have to find out. We're gonna have to wait for to get Mitch Jackson or somebody in here.
Maybe get Gordon Firemark. He knows this stuff. Gordon does.
He's good too.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would be great to get a lawyer in the network. They can be the legal committee.
We need to do the
Gordon
social
does
support
own-
like people's
He
court.
does his own thing going on Facebook about once a week. It probably wouldn't hurt to ask him and see if he might be willing to join in the group. I'm sure he'd be interested.
Sure. Do you know him? Do you know him pretty well? Or?
Yeah, I know Gordon. Yeah,
Yeah, if you want to reach out,
I could ask him.
I can send you over. Just updated the invite letter and the FAQ, which you could send to him, and he can already start. If anything comes up.
Yeah, we're friends. I could probably I could forward.
That'd be
it over
great.
to him.
I've seen his stuff, and he's very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely knows his stuff, and especially in terms of this area with copyright law and things like that. He's good. Jodi, you know him too, I think. I know you're nodding your head there. You know Gordon.
I do, yeah. In fact, coincidentally, I just got an email from him in my inbox. Not directly from him, but from his newsletter.
You're good with an invite as well?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, he'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, great idea. We're gonna get to Jeff in just a second. Just so I leave a block of time for Jeff, I'll just tell you quickly an update because they don't have anybody here right now. We have an update from the website and email committee that they're working on some blog posts. Sue Ann said she's got 3 posts to kick off the blog, and the first 2 are almost ready to be published. And we need high-res profile images, a show title when you're ready, when you have it, and a show description from everyone so that they can I put some placeholder stuff on the website, but they want to update that stuff. There is a Google Drive that I posted in the website, a Google Drive for uploading your photo. Marisa, you don't have to worry about it. I uploaded yours from the email, and I uploaded Rebecca's, and I think Jodi already posted hers on, so I can just upload that for you, Jodi. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay, yeah.
When Joey asked, you actually responded with that. So
yeah.
As far as monetization, we decided last week anybody can promote their business to whatever extent they want to. It's your show. And we're also going to allow, unless anybody really objects, for right now, people can start to monetize with affiliate links or however they want to. We discussed it amongst, Rick had some comments and other people discussed it. I don't really think it will impact us as far as getting sponsors, but people can do their show their own way when it comes to that stuff. Is everybody cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the other thing is our website has a shop, and it has WooCommerce integration. So I know Bridgetti made a mug, and she put like 100 TV on it. We could have merch. We could also have people sell their own. Let people put their own products on there with their own link. But we could have a shop on the website. Doesn't have to be a high priority thing right now we want to launch, but something to think about if any ideas come along. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff because the branding committee's been busy. And if you could just give an update on what you and Joey and Bridgetti have been working on for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually, I joined tonight just to see what was going on. I can definitely give you an update. I'm not the branding chair. Joey and Bridgetti we're all making a lot of progress together. What we did this week, or what I tried to take the lift on, was in creating some more art around a logo, and I had put in one to you, Ross, a couple weeks ago. And I basically fine-tuned that a little bit, began putting headshots inside of it, some things like that. You all can see those elements, I guess, in the creator group. And from there, I did a Facebook cover today, that's out there right now. And and Joey has been working hard on a branding guide, which is great. And so I think from an imaging perspective, I think we're looking strong, in a lot of ways. And I think that what we want to do is help people understand how to use those elements to carry through their work, and then we can make decisions later on about whether or not we want to have like the 100 TV in the bottom corner. And if you do, you got to leave room for it if you got a lower third, or if it's in the top left, that kind of thing. But in terms of the designs and the framework of the how, and the process and policy, those things are coming together. I think Joie will be taking the lead on, what makes good branding, how do we want to use it in certain use cases, things like that. We'll obviously all of us will have input on it, but for the moment, I went with what I usually do, which is to start, visioning out a little bit and putting things out there. And that's what we did.
Cool.
I like it.
I do
Yeah, I've
like
seen
the
some of that.
I do like the branding and the branding guide and the suggestions. I think we're all professionals here when we create stuff, but I think it will be very much more impactful if we all look similar, or like you do the 3 different views. Like this is how it is,
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
good job.
agree.
I don't think you want to look anything like me. Huh?
Well, I want to look like your studio with the drinks behind me. That's for sure.
All right.
If I may, I don't know how far along the agenda, but if I can give a quick plug too, because I just wanted to say that when you were talking about earlier with having the segments going through and picking out our own little clips and things like that to send in, I had just gone through that in the last 2 weeks because I'm preparing for my 200th episode this weekend. This Saturday night is going to be my 200th episode. So that's what I'm going to be doing on the show. I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff, giving away stuff, showing one of my Super 8 films that I made when I was younger, things like that. But and I'm going to show how to make a leprechaun beer, and I'm going to do all this stuff on the show. But one of the things I did was I compiled several clips from previous shows that I had done over the last couple hundred episodes. And so I have stuff like that done. I tell you, it is a lot of work to do. It does take a lot of work to do that. But if we can all do that sort of thing, that would definitely save, as Jeff was saying, it would save an enormous amount of time doing all that stuff later.
And there's 2 parts to that, Rick, real quick, because one is the work involved. But the other part is when you don't know someone else's content, you don't know what they think is valuable because they may be the subject expert where you're not.
Great point. Because you don't know if that's really the clip you want them to pull.
Right.
And it might not be the one you want.
Can I make a suggestion as well?
Sure.
And I don't know if, it depends on how related the shows are to each other. But if you're going to make that kind of a promo, then promoting them on each other's shows might be a way to go. Like the same way that you would do if you're exchanging ads on a podcast. So it would be best if it's somewhat related to what the topics of your show are, but maybe the ones that are in similar categories or that audience might find interesting should be also putting those promos on their shows.
That is a great idea. I love that.
Great, yeah.
And because they're all shows on our network, there's nothing wrong with running videos to promote your own channel, as far as I know.
Well, it's the same thing.
But that's,
it's the same thing as having, like, promoting your own stuff on your own podcast.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're just promoting our own stuff on our own network, right?
Right. So that's great. I mean, I think that's a brilliant way to do it.
You can even do that, pulling clips, if you want to do some of those clip collections where they're themed. If everybody can pull something like, hey, what are we going to do this week? Does everybody have a clip of something that's kind of following this sort of a theme? Everybody pulls a similar clip like that and puts it all together, and that's the theme for the week. I think that's kind of cool.
The voiceover could tie it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
We think we have somebody who can do that too.
Yes, we do.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great. We made it through the agenda in 53 minutes. Anybody have anything else before we wrap up?
Not at the moment, but I did mention before that I was going to write up a couple of drafts of things, and I'll hand them over to you, and then you can do whatever you want with them. So.
That sounds great. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for everybody watching. Another meeting is tomorrow at noon. If you didn't get enough, we will see you again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Later.